see him stepping up, I think you're fine. I think the team comp all around that I see from SBTC, again, it has to snowball. You have to find early engages, and you have to play it aggressive. But I think you can definitely do that.
All right. We're going to maybe jump into game number 3 here. I think we're frozen a little bit, but that's been happening a little bit today. It's not too big of an issue as we're stuck on the rune screen more than anything else. It was double electrocute, which I think is a very common practice for Ahri versus LeBlanc, as both of them do like quite a bit of that to be able to kind of dump into the opposite during the course of the laning phase. If you don't take it, you end up being at a bit of a disadvantage trading-wise. But other than that, I didn't see anything particularly interesting among the runes when we were stuck on the page.
Absolutely, and with that, we can see. The bot lane should be an absolute cluster.
So
because I mean, it's Rel versus Nautilus, and then you have the Samura in there, of course. And something that most people don't really know about Zeri is that while your pre-6 is not the strongest, your level 6 power spike is actually massive, because your extra burst damage on your ultimate, just being able to basically deal, have a blitzcrank ultimate on top of the rest of your ultimate, is just so strong that you can easily find those level 6 ult-ins and make sure that you snowball from there, because every time you have ulti after that, if you get those early kills, you can just run on people, and that's how, if you're ever asking yourself, as a top laner or mid laner or jungler, how your bot lane is losing to Zeri early, that's usually how it goes.
Yeah, there's always the kind of level 2 that you can all in on if you've got the right champion, and maybe Paulette wants to make that happen if you've got the laser or the E to be able to kind of put some additional damage out, but they don't have control of the wave to do that with. And so Slater and Paulette probably just have to back off and give credence over to Artemis and Huber to ensure that they don't just get chain CC locked up in the air by the Samira, and everything else goes about. There's a Lee Sin heading to top lane right now as Pun and Emperor are both kind of fighting back and forth. DNK kind of beelined it up here. He's going to jump in and maybe try to find Pun. Q not quite going to find anything, as Emperor is just going to get some push assistance from DNK here.
I mean, Emperor is just losing a lot of XP on this while Huber's going in. That was
wild. Huber missed the hook, hit the wall, didn't end up getting anything, as Artemis was eventually able to after the auto went through. They're just under there.
We're just diving top. Okay. But respect.
Huh?
That's the energy we need, man. That's balls of steel's energy. Just telling Pun to shove it. I think Emperor has a bit of anger left from last game. Of course, Draktar on the other side gets to invade and gets to steal away at least the Grom, and does not steal away the Grom. In fact,
no.
So nothing really gained for him, and I mean, that's just a dive in top lane.
How in the world did they dive that? They literally ran right up top lane. They ran right through the lane. There was no nuance. There was no secret to what they were doing. DNK and Emperor just forced their way onto a Scion in the beginning of the game. That was insane. I wish we had a replay of that. I kind of want to see. I hope that we get one eventually, because I really have to see how in the world that they pulled that off into a tank at the beginning of the game. But somehow, like you said, I like the energy that's being exuded here from SBTC. It reminds me of the beginning of game 1 when they were bullying Draktar, which was probably the best we saw from them in their opening.
Yes, and DNK on the Lycian, of course, has the abilities to be the playmaker for his team, to make sure that his team gets those advantages, because I think the biggest difference between those two teams in favor for SBTC definitely is the jungle position. I think DNK and Draktar are not really on the same level. I think Draktar, from the top 4 teams, is probably by far the weakest of the junglers, and I think he is always going to be that point that teams try to abuse, and DNK so far is doing a good job of doing that.
See a bit of fighting back here for Pun as he's kind of behind the tower, proxying just a little bit. I kind of wanted him to stay there. He has full support from Draktar, so I'm actually a little surprised. And he's got this Demolish, and you really could have used Demolish in a lot of ways when you get behind the tower. I'm really surprised Pun didn't step up in more an aggressive kind of stance right there, because it felt like you could have easily tried to pull half of a plate off that tower, if not a little bit more. You would have denied a lot more farm from Emperor, as it would have all crashed into the tower, but instead he pulls off a bit, maybe trying to opening up a gank. As you can see, Draktar is just behind Emperor. He's trying to have his cake and eat it too by taking up the Krugs. So Emperor's going to spot him. Yeah, now he's not going to be able to find it at all.
Yes, but with Yado being forced into base by Dia1, or having to recall because Dia1 already had his recall, means that the Gnar is actually safe, protected by his mid laner. Now, DNK kind of figures out, wait, Palette's dead.
They're trolling bot lane here. Artemis does have to press cleanse. That's the auto attack that's going to come through. Now the question is, do they get more? E is going to come out as the dash forward from Slater. You got to do something here. If you're Huber, Q's just landing. Nice. Q at the very tail end of that is going to be able to make sure that that's not going to work. Slater's not going to be able to find a matched kill here up against Artemis, as that's just an assassination of Palette at the beginning of this game.
Yeah, but it's so close. Nearly traded back by Slater. You can really see how much damage Zeri can do in the long run, of course, having stacked up her lethal tempo as well. But in the end, it is just a kill for the Samira, which means she now has a lane advantage. And if you know anything about Samira, it's usually that a small lane advantage doesn't stay small for long.
Not in the slightest. Especially, you know, Serrated Dirk was the first buy just for some really, really heavy kind of upfront damage, maybe not expected by Palette, and is now going to dip back to the traditional build, going to go for Marksman, maybe go into like Shield Bow and stuff like that, which is just going to be a disgusting kind of plays. Now you got some attack speed, you have a little more AD. Slater's only got boots right now to really work with, so when it comes to just single off auto trades, ability trades, you know that that's going to be dominated by Artemis at this point.
Absolutely it will, and so we will probably also see Cerberus moving towards a Drake, especially since they have 4 people here right now. DR1 is being forced out, and that should be the position on this Drake. Now they snowball that into bot. Make sure that Artemis gets the push there, and then they have an angle for Drake if they want to take it.
Yeah, and Artemis has a wave beginning to stack really effectively here. It's going to be hard for Slater and Palette to kind of clear it very, very quickly, which again, Dragon should be on the table. Drakthar is not quite committed to it yet. In fact, he's going to go to clearing Krugs more than anything else. It's a little shocking. It feels like they have a really good Dragon setup here, and yet they will not take advantage of it. They will not push for anything more. Instead, they'll just be able to collapse on this bottom side. This wave will be massive when it ends up crashing into the tower, though.
Yeah, and there were 2 really good plays, of course, with this wave. Take Drake or dive, actually. Thinking that Lee Sin is top. In the end, they don't neither. But they still can use that wave if they want to for Drake. Nope, they use it for a recall. And in the end, nothing really gained. And I'm really surprised that Cerberus doesn't go for the Drake, because it is a Mountain Drake early. So that Drake usually skates really nicely into the later stages of the game.
Yeah, I don't like seeing teams waste time on the map right there. Again, the word tempo's got quite a bit of charge to it, but that's what I'll say is that they had tempo on bottom side, and it ended up just kind of going to waste as opposed to, you know, being able to use it for some kind of big play. The only thing I can think is, again, they're actually performing the third possible option here, which is the shift for Rift Herald, because they want to focus on snowballing this Samira. And so if they really want to play that, I feel like the Rift Herald doesn't do that nearly as well anymore. Obviously, after now 2 plates are no longer guaranteed, it's just 1.5. But they clearly feel it's necessary. As we're going back to you know, the Mickey Mouse split, we're flipping on the first Herald of the game. Maybe both teams kind of situated here to fight. Pun's going to stand in first, 2,000 health left on the Rift Herald, stolen by Drakthar. As that's going to be that. Now they have to get in on top of it. Gnar Ultimate's going to put everybody into the wall. That's going to be Artemis, who's kicked back into the rest of the team. Ultimate's going to get popped, but he's not going to find anybody. As SBTCE have decimated the fight. Yato tries to come in to clean something up. W is going to be so massive for Slater, as that's 1 traded back. Drakthar might have the resets now. Rel going to jump into the back line. Can't find the kill on Slater either. And just like that, 5 members of Cerberus get brought down around the Rift Herald, Tim.
I think somebody survived.
Oh, did
I think somebody got out?
Was it maybe Huber? Might have been Huber getting out.
Huber.
No, Huber. I think everybody. I think that was all 5 members.
All 5 members died, which is obviously like no matter what, it's an absolute disaster. And if we look on the top lane position, I think Pun really is not having fun. We can look back. First, Drakthar steals this actually. The big question is, do they actually get it?
No, they don't. They never get it.
I think they don't get it. And now, great kick here onto Artemis, killing Artemis, and then DNK survives this, does not give the reset to the Viego, who could carry the fight. Palette now going in, but Yado dies for it. Palette dies, but the rail reset just not being strong enough. Slater surviving by the slimmest of margins here. And then once again, Pun tries with the Q. And I thought the person that was getting out was a clone of DR1, so I just saw somebody walking away, and I thought it was one member of Cerberus. But SBTC so far much stronger in this game, but we know how fast that can change from last game. Okay,
and Yano dies as well to the combination of DO1 and DNK. That's terrible. Again, this early game has completely spiraled out of control for the side of Cerberus. It felt like they were commanding the beginning of the game, but that all it took was that one kind of aggressive play. Drakthar and Pun stood forward to grab the Rift Herald. They get the steal. They don't even get the Rift Herald pickup, but it opened up Emperor jumping in on top of Artemis, preventing the Samira from being able to get their footing to go aggressive during the course of the fight. And now, not feeling great inside of this game. Still has a bit of a lead over top of Slater, but not anywhere near. The snowball's not going to happen the way that they wanted it to by any standard. And again, remember, they spent all of their bot lane tempo on that play to the Rift Herald. They shifted to that instead of taking Dragon, instead of diving bot. They had so many options, and that's what they went with.
Yeah, and in the end, they get punished. Of course, you can understand trying to go for that play. It doesn't have to be terrible for them, but in the end, it backfires massively. And now we see a standoff at the Drake. Drakthar, DNK, and support are looking, but bot prio and mid prio secured for the side of Cerberus. Should mean Drake is going to be theirs. If Slater, DNK, and Palette don't have anything to say about it, they are still standing around. They might be looking. DNK is over the wall. What are we doing?
We're just flipping everything. Yes. Oh, they're going to catch them on the way back in, actually. Yeah. They won't. They're not. DNK finds play on Artemis, kicks it back into the rest of the team. That's going to be a very dead Artemis. Very patient play coming over there from DNK. As now Huber under quite a bit of duress. He's going to go down to Slater as well. Slater just pops off right there. And again, very patient. Great punish from SE as they wait for the Dragon. They wait for them to return to lane. And that's just a dead Artemis now.
Great play here from DNK, being able to get into the bush, was completely unspotted, and perfect insect onto Artemis, who can't really do anything because he gets insta-seeded by Palette as well. Then Huba gets run down as well. 2 kills to Slater, and that's so important, because if DNK gets those kills, it's okay for Cerberus, but the Zeri getting the kills is an absolute disaster.
Yeah, there's no way now for Artemis to be able to leverage a massive advantage, because at the beginning of the game, they were winning that bot lane matchup, but with 3 kills, that's a shield bow completed, that's the boots completed. I mean, there's not counterplay here for Artemis now. The Zeri is just going to be impossible to get on top of and really do anything for, unless Slater just kind of tosses it more than anything else. As I think as the way the series is going right now, this is actually really Cerberus' favorite. Am I wrong, Tim? I feel like every time somebody gets a solid early game, the other team ends up just like bringing it back out of nowhere. So I think you're fine if you're Cerberus at this point.
I mean, the big thing that I'm seeing is that, yes, you have a solid front-to-back teamfight comp, technically, but on Cerberus' side, but it's so much onto Artemis and so much finding that perfect angle. And I feel like on the other side, there's so much playmaking. And there's Slater. And Slater is going to be able to 1v9 the game, because the lockdowns you see outside of Nautilus is basically non-existent. Drakthar will have a really hard time getting onto Slater. Same for Yado. And there's good protection because you can build so much space with Gnar, Lee Sin, LeBlanc. If you leave any of those champions alone in a teamfight, they will still carry the teamfight as well. And Palette, of course, with that great engage tool. So I think Slater is going to have all the time in the world to also take in those team fights, and that means with 3 kills and that early lead, he can easily carry the game.
Absolutely. I want to believe that as well. Goodness gracious. 14 minutes in, 11 kills, 4,000 gold advantage. This is probably the best early game advantage we've seen. Nice slide from Slater to get out of dodge as fast as possible. And as the game kind of ticks forward, these neutral objectives are going to continue to be tracked. Cerberus did get the first Dragon, which is beneficial. Second Rift Herald is going to be popping up here. And again, we saw the winter split kind of come about. I think it was 2021 winter come about there for a second as, again, teams flipping on that to start off the game. Emperor is going to be a pest towards Pun. Will he jump under? Is he a Chad or is he a jump? That is the question. Oh, Drakthar's here. He's going to be a jump. Never mind. He actually might have an opportunity. Emperor. Oh, flash into the Drakthar. Disastrous. Now W's going to come through. Emperor is outplaying them for the moment, but that ultimate should probably do it. And that's a shutdown for Drakthar. Not pretty, but it does get the job done.
I mean, yeah. Emperor kind of completely broke the ankles, honestly. In bot lane, though, the turret should fall, which means you're trading that kill in top lane for first blood turret, and Drakthar is getting engaged on by DNK.
Yes, through the EQ.
Oh, no.
Oh, the missed Q. It feels so bad.
He did the mad wrong. Oh.
Missing the Q, not able to hit it, not able to follow up means that they don't get that kill. Pun TP'd bot to watch the tower fall and is now being run at. This is a boss angle right now, just throwing himself away in order to get any sort of damage.
I mean, the thing is, I can say with absolute confidence that is not a good death.
No. That is very, very true. It was a joke more than anything, obviously. There's no way he gets away with criminal murder here by doing that, but no, it's not going to be the case. Instead, he turns for Slater. And it is Rift Herald traded back, but like they lost the tower and he just gave away a kill and a teleport for nothing. Like,
yeah.
That's it. That's all I got. Rift Herald did go on Artemis.
There's none. Like, I agree. And the thing is, it's again onto Slater. Slater is 4-0-4. He has 2 items and boots as Zeri in 15-16 minutes. Yes. That's usually where Samira, like when I said that, usually one Samira kill isn't enough. There are usually more to come. I didn't think that we would end with a 4-4 on the Slater.
Yeah, I didn't think we would either, but here we are. And Emperor's even going to pull top tower after Samira was defending it for a second. Samira did finish shield bow, so you do have a bit more defense, a little bit of lifesteal to work with. And the Rift Herald should help. Again, if Artemis is able to find any alone time to farm up and also make up for the experience disadvantage, because right now he's now 2 levels to Slater. If you're able to kind of bridge that with a little bit of solo lane time, break a solo tower, maybe Artemis can kind of climb back into a damage position in this game. But for now, there's just no way that Cerberus can play out team fights in any significant fashion without a really, really big play coming through.
Now we see both teams hanging around that mid and the Drake, but in the end, it is Cerberus who are fighting for that position with the Herald in mid lane. Slater has to go over to that. Cerberus now has to get their position onto Drake, though. They're still contesting mid lane. I'm not sure why they're not just on Drake with the Herald. The Herald is now gone, and Cerberus is engaging.
Solid. Emperor does go into ultimate, but that's going to be a shutdown. Yato's able to grab that one up, as that was a lot of damage up front. It was actually basically pure Yato right there, getting that job done right there. Another charm actually lands, forces the flash out of Palette, who's going to jump in. He's going to be able to find one on the front end. Dia1 jumps in as well, not going to find it, as that's Artemis who, actually, it's Yato who gets a kill instead of Artemis. It's a little bit of trade back and forth. Pun now getting run out. Charm up onto Slater. Ultimate comes in from Artemis. Is he going to be able to find a kill? I think he trades, but it's Yato who gets it again as DNK jumps in onto Drakthar. Pun's going to try to auto-attack DNK down, but he's not going to quite find the damage. Things got really exciting there for a second. MW 3 for 4. Yato cleans up so many kills. It's unfortunate. I almost wish that those would have gone on to Artemis because it might have meant for more counterplay, but at minimum, something back for Cerberus as they also lose the Dragon at the top end.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 4-for-3 and a Drake. I think it's not what SBTC wanted, but still, it favors them. They get the second Drake. They get a kill less and a kill more, but some shutdowns also going over to Cerberus. So Cerberus definitely not too angry about that. And let's look at the start of the fight again, because Emperor gets hooked here, and he's mini now, and he only gets Mega 9 in the last second, basically gets burst instantly, gives the first reset over to Drakthar, and he starts zoning out DNK then as well. And now it's all on Palette, Slater, and Dia1 to carry this team fight. And Slater is doing so much damage in those seconds, but he's going to be charmed up in a second. And that really changes the team fight, because if the charm doesn't land, he probably gets to free play this entire team fight and stomps it.
Yeah, not to mention, okay, right there, I was watching to see what exactly had happened. So Yato landed a nasty charm on a Slater. The E came in from Artemis, and then he popped the W to get the ult. If he had saved the W for even like another second, I feel like there was enough damage from Dia1 and Slater that kind of popped him, that if it had been up a little bit longer and blocked the first rotation of spell from Dia1, maybe Artemis lives, pops, gets some kills, maybe drives back Dia1, and it might end up being like a 3-for-3 where they can contest the dragon. Probably Artemis doesn't die in that situation, but again, was so antsy to try to pull that Inferno trigger. It just ends up, burning it a little too fast, which sucks, because Cerberus was super close to breaking that open. At least again, Yato also played that to perfection, and that required perfect plays. We're going to jump right into another play. As Pun ease onto Slater. Slater is just going to get absolutely dumpstered. Give the kill to Artemis. There it is. Something back for their ADC to get something going in this game. Maybe start cooking for Artemis a little bit.
And Slater's completely out of position. I'm not sure what he was doing there now. But talking about out of position.
Okay, Drakthar gets kicked out of that fight. Nice ultimate, actually. He's going to chase down Dia1, try to find something. Q's not going to be able to land, goes over top of the wall, now has to get out of dodge, but DNK is going to be here and going to be able to clean up that kill. Almost certainly, that's the ward hop. He's going to be stuck by the minions under the tower. Ultimate's going to come through, and that's going to be a shutdown for Huber. And now will he find another? Huber,
oh, no.
Will he clutch support V9? Can he do it? He's not going to try. He's just going to dodge because LeBlanc's an annoying champion to deal with. He is but a simple Nautilus with no ultimate. Never mind, I lied. He's going back in, baby. He's going to try to find something. Artemis is right behind him if DL1 dares, but Artemis won't walk any further. He knows that if he gets baited, then that's just going to be his support dying. And so they're going to walk away 1 for 1 underneath that tower. It's 600 gold went onto Huber.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably best case for DNK because he's playing at least in. It's very, very easy to get killed in one of these team fights. Give that big shot on over to Artemis. Now it's on the Nautilus where we don't really care, you know? So I think giving that over is actually fine for him. And we can see the dive is coming in. But in a second, he actually lands the Q this time, which is a win. Dia1 survives with so little HP. Decent amount of times. Grump actually resets on the back end. If Grump doesn't reset just half a second longer, he dies from Grump.
Yeah, that and the safeguard shield, both of those kept him alive. Like one auto from the Grump and then that safeguard shield were literally the whole difference in not dying there for LeBlanc, which would have been another kill under Drakthar, which would have been a tremendous kind of grab out of nowhere. Especially after the resulting play afterwards, get another kill. There is a collector done for Samira, which is a decent power spike coming in for this. That means the Inferno trigger is going to do a lot more. Man, this is I can count the pixels on the screen right now. My brain is smooth, but what in the world?
I think now it's very important for SBTC to just not play until Slater has actually hit the Navori quick blades. I think that's such a massive power spike for him, and Samira is gonna take a long time until she actually heads to Infinity Edge. So I think that item advantage has to then be played out. But before that, I think Samira right now is on equal terms with that Zeri.
Are you also frozen at least a little bit?
Yeah,
I just want to make sure we're not. All right,
I'm also frozen. That's why I tried to fill it with some predictions.
We just have to make sure to keep our producer on his toes as I enter every once in a while by DDoSing his stream. And your feeling was great because I think you were talking about very pertinent points. These ADs kind of getting onto the right itemization at the right time. We get a little bit of the game.
Nash without Navori, so they're doing exactly what I told them not to do. But let's looking for the flank, looking for the big engage here. Well, Dia1 for zoning, and there's Pun.
Okay, they're gonna ditch. They're not going to fight. They've listened to your advice. Your sage wisdom has been picked up. Oh, wait, never mind. They're going to fight. It's Huber on the front end of this one. He's actually going to deny Palette so much. Huber on the backside, also stopping up Emperor before anything else comes through. Drakthar is going to go running in the midst of everything. Artemis tries to jump in as well, as he's going to get absolutely eviscerated on the backside. But the Charm's going to catch up Slater. I don't think they have the damage to actually bring him down. And on the backside of the fight, he lives forever. Everyone on the side of Cerberus is just dead. I don't know. They had such a decent fight going. It looked like maybe they had a winning situation, and instead the back-end damage from the squad just is way too high, and Cerberus gets routed.
And Artemis, sadly to say, is so incredibly useless, and it's not just down to him. It's just down to DNK and Emperor always finding him, always kicking him into Slater, and he ends up dying before he does anything again, because this time it's Emperor with the ultimate. Just kick him in and look at Slater. Look at the 80 carry difference. That is the damage difference you really do not want to see between those two carries. And here we can see. It feels like Palette is dying for nothing. But the Gnar actually survives. Huber's flash completely useless. DNK also survives. And now the Inferno trigger gets cancelled. Artemis gets kicked in. Gets killed. Yado with the charm. Not enough damage on his own to kill Slater. And at this point, Slater is completely safe. And then the flank from Dia1 to clean everybody up together with DNK. Together with Emperor.
Yeah, it's a combination of ultimates. It just feels like they're never expecting. It's almost like SBTCE lived long enough for their cooldowns to come back, and Cerberus didn't kill anybody. And as a result, when they came back with their cooldowns, Cerberus just got wrecked. Like there was nothing more to say. Not to mention Slater staying on the back, constantly hitting members with his Q. When the ultimate is charged up, he's able to do anything that he wants. And now, I mean, this has to be a commanding enough lead to not throw, right? I know I'm saying that, I'm maybe jinxing it, but 11,000 is far and away the most we've seen in the series. This should be way too easy for SBTCE to just kind of walk in over top of the line. Their ADC is never going to be responded to. It feels like their mid laner is going to be powerful. And I look at D1, he's almost onto finished itemization, almost onto full stack to like Magi's. We're getting there for this team having the damage to just be completely incomprehensibly ahead in this one.
I don't trust. I do not trust until the Nexus is dead. They let me down too often, both of these teams. So I think SBTC did definitely with a good game for sure. And yes, under normal circumstances, if the series had gone a bit differently before this, I would have told you, yes, obviously it's over. But I'm not calling game over just yet. Done that before, was a big mistake, and in this case, Yado is might be looking for Slater.
Massive flank coming through. Pun unfortunately misses it onto Slater. They're not able to tag it up, as I thought that was going to be dead to rights. They're going to continue this fight. I don't think that they're done quite yet. They want to find the angle onto Paulette and onto Emperor. They want this 5-person fight. They're losing the bottom side as Deal 1 is there. That's going to be a hook. That's going to be Paulette trying to chain CC, as Artemis wants more, is going to find that kill, going to find that play against Paulette, as they lose the bottom inhibitor for the 1 kill. They're actually probably going to lose mid inhibitor for the kill as well. Slater and Emperor aren't necessarily quite done. Yado wants a little bit more as well. Slater might get brought down, as that is going to be a kill going on to Huber. Again, the other side of the map, they're losing their base really, really heavily right now, but they're not done quite yet, as Huber might be looking at Emperor. This should just be the push in top lane, I'm assuming, is what's going to happen here.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, it's 2 kills over to Cerberus, but 2 inhibs over to SBTC, and I'm gonna have to be honest, I agree with you. I also saw Slater completely dying for no reason there. And now I think Cerberus botlane is in trouble. Artemis trying to outplay. Artemis trying to find his ultimate. Can't.
Just barely not able to get the Inferno trigger out. Just barely dies ahead of time. And now Yado, the only real damage dealer remaining here to try to make anything sort of happen, as that's just going to be them getting pushed off. They lost mid inhibitor and bot inhibitor for some kind of attempted counterplay around this top side. But even if they get 3 kills and nothing else, they lost 2 inhibitors for basically nothing when no objectives are on the map to be able to kind of chain into anything else. Like, it's just desperation from Cerberus.
Yeah, I mean, they have to find something, and they have to get Artemis back into the game. And it feels like, for different reasons, the Samira is just not working out. He's just not able. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think he's insane on a champion. I think he isn't bad on a champion, but there's only really one player in the world that I want to see playing Samira at the moment. I think it's not too strong of a champion, so I'm surprised that they still went for it, because when I think of Artemis, I think of champions like Twitch. I think of champions like Caitlyn, like Jinx, where he can just 1v9 every single team fight if he gets those 2-3 items. And I'm always surprised when he picks up Samira, because yes, it fits with his playstyle, but I feel like it isn't strong enough to 1v9 for his team, and especially against the top teams, that's often what he needs to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's been a play style that they've had to go back to time and time again, and especially against other playoff teams. These are squads. This is also, again, if I had to be honest, walking into today, if it were not for game number 1, if this were a 2-0 for SBTCE, I think it's basically guaranteed that GAM is picking Cerberus. There's like no chance they're picking another team 100% walking into playoffs. This was far and away the weakest squad. And you can see part of it why. Again, their diversity of play just isn't really that insane. It's not really that high. Their team fighting isn't superb when Artemis isn't kind of going. To me, this is a middle tier team. This time they were able to sneak away, as this is going to be a fight around this one. Ultimate's going to get Pun or an Emperor kind of knocked up long enough that there's going to be quite a bit of chain CC to follow. Is that to jump in? Rel's going to be able to pull everybody together. Is there anything else afterwards? Artemis is already dead in this fight, so I don't even know why we're continuing. Slater just gets to walk forward and throw autos in. There's nothing for them to do here. I don't even know what else to say. Cerberus just loses this one outright. There's nothing else to do. As SBTCE, again, maybe game 1 wasn't great. Maybe that was a Vin Boys difference or something like that. Game 2 didn't look all that great, but game 3 is exactly what I expected of them today. Walking into playoffs, leveling up, and being able to beat down these other teams, potentially take a shot at the Kings of GAM, as they did just earlier on in the week, as they grab up the series and are going to almost certainly sentence Cerberus to the gallows in the first round.